Welcome to the Betfred Boxing Show with me, Don McGuinness, alongside Anthony $1 Million Crolla. We've got a busy one, Anthony, as ever. We're going to look back to all the action, Liam Williams' brave effort in the States. Also, we're going to preview the forthcoming Queensbury Promotions card. We're going to be hearing from Barry Hearn. He's just retired and he's got one or two things to say about a heavyweight fight you might have heard about. We're going to hear from Stefy Bull. He's in Barcelona with Gavin McDonnell. He's got a European title fight, and he's going to give us the lowdown on Terri Harpers' next fight, which is announced this week. And we've got a special interview with Kevin McBride, the last man to fight the baddest man on the planet in a professional ring. Kevin McBride, who retired Mike Tyson as a pro. Kevin's coming back and he's going to take on Evander Holyfield. We'll find out all about that. But firstly, Anthony, we're going to start with this Queensbury show, and it's topped by Denzel Bentley against Felix Cash. It's a fabulous one, isn't it? It's a trade fight, British and Commonwealth middleweight title.
It's a brilliant fight, a real domestic showdown, and how many times have we heard me say on air about, we rarely see a bad British title fight, and I don't see this being any different. It's such a tough one to call, I know Cash is a favourite with the bookies, but I think there's great value in Bentley, and I just, I think with the last few fights, I think the Mark Efron fights would have done Bentley the world of good. But if you're asking me, I don't know if you are going to ask me to pick up one, I think we're going to go different ways. I'd probably just go Cash, but it's been no confidence whatsoever. Like I say, I think there's a lot of value in Bentley, and I think if it does get hot in there and he keeps a cool head under pressure, and I didn't realise how high his KO ratio was either, Bentley, so I started talking him really up here. I think it's a real pick 'em. I lean towards Cash, but with no certainty whatsoever, but it's a fight I cannot wait for.
Is this a points fight, do you think? Is it going the distance?
I don't know whether it is. I think both guys have got great engines, so that would suggest them tough, but I think the pace that they're going to set, I might be wrong, but I think that the pace they're going to set, we might struggle to see 12 rounds no matter how much work they put in. I think that the one who stays cool, because both will have the moments, I believe, and I think the one who stays cool under fire is the one who will come out victorious.
When you look at it as well, it's one of those great fights at the minute when you've got two guys that are willing to risk it.
I like it, yeah.
They're both unbeaten. Bentley's had that draw with Heffron, which he avenged the next time he retired Heffron, obviously. Yeah. Bad eye damage, wasn't it? But it's great to see. We've seen it a few times. The pandemic's been brilliant for that. I mean, I know it sounds like a crass thing to say, but you know what I mean? It's forced with everything that's gone on.
It's forced some great domestic fights, which we wouldn't have seen, but I think obviously Bentley and Cash was ordered, and again, fair play, both promotional companies not working together, but putting their fights on the show, because a lot of people doubted it, and this would have been a fight, would have been a real shame for British boxing fans if it didn't happen. So it's great that it's been ordered, and it's even better that it's taking place. Yeah.
Also on that card, I mean, no Anthony Yard, that he had to pull out of that, but somebody in the same division, the light heavyweight division, is your mate. CJ, Callum Johnson, and he's got Markic to deal with. Yes. And again, I know it's the same old thing we say. He's got a good record, 30-odd fights, just 2 defeats. He's not really fought anyone that's going to stand out and catch your eye. Yeah. But he comes over here. Callum's got to do the business without overlooking him, or it's all derailed again.
Of course, and Callum's been out of the ring a long time, and he's in with Markic. And to be honest, listen, Callum's going to start a big favourite. However, there's no denying, looking at his record, he obviously can punch well. Whatever the quality of opposition is, he can certainly punch, and it's, being in with someone like that after so long out is obviously risky, but I say all the time, I believe Callum Johnson on his day, what I see in the gym, he's definitely got a world title in him, and it's a great division domestically. Again, just in that stable alone, you've got Callum Johnson, you've got Lyndon Arthur, and again we've got Anthony Yardy, who we would have seen back, but he had problems with his teeth, so we'll be back very soon. And then obviously we've got Joshua Buatsi. There's some great fights to be made, but I know there's some kind of WBO title belt on this, so hopefully CJ wins. I'm very confident he will do, but then it puts him right in the picture then with the other two for a possible voluntary against Joe Smith Jr., who has recently been crowned the WBO light heavyweight champion. You just touched on it though at the start of you talking about Callum in that his inactivity. I mean, you've been retired 18 months. You fought twice since Callum last boxed. It's mental, when you think of it like that, and wow, you boxed Lomachenko a month after Callum fought Sean Monahan, which was his last fight. And then obviously I boxed in November.
Fight Frank Kiaga.
So listen, it's not ideal. preparation. But in the gym, he's looked fantastic, and although he's at his age thinking, right, you've got to get a move on, he is certainly, you know, he's looked after himself, and you can only see the shape that he's in.
Yeah.
Picture that went out last night, and he seems Callum, I think, could be the first to say, you know, mentally at times he's struggled, but he seems in a good place, and there's a great picture out of just a few hours before he went into the Bull, went and seen his father's grave. Joey promised him he'll be back with a title, and I think there's a great bit that went out, and he says, you know, me and my father always set out to achieve things, and we've done some things, but I've not achieved what we set out to do as a professional. So a real feel-good story if he can get to the top of that mountain and get that world title. Yeah,
it's one thing to say he's been inactive, but again, he's 35. Inactivity can be a positive if the glass is half full. He's got no miles on the clock.
No,
I mean,
he's not.
He's had one tough fight against Beterbiev, which he had him down, then he got stopped.
And it wasn't a grueling 12 rounder.
It wasn't. It was over pretty quickly, wasn't it?
We believe he's still fresh, but then at the same time, I speak with Joe, and he can't afford 2, 3, 4 fights, get back in working there. He's sort of 1 or 2 fights and go for it. And if the opportunity come next, I'm sure that's a possibility as well.
Which he's going to be hungry to do, isn't he? And the way that it is, as you say, the shape of it, the way he keeps himself fit.
Yeah, he really looks after himself.
Yeah. Well, of course, anyway, as well as that, there's has been and there's going to be some very tasty action stateside, as there always tends to be. But there's 2 guys, 2 eye-catching fellas. They're not fighting each other, obviously. But Navarrete and Berlanga. Now, Navarrete's fighting Diaz, but he's in that division. Fight. Again, one of the standouts in a good division anyway, isn't it?
That's a very good fight, that, where, the challenger Diaz in 10 rounds with Shakur Stevenson, who, in my opinion, is going to be a future pound-for-pound star. He's already making his way towards that top 10. But Navarrete is recently crowned champion, and he's in the form of his career, there's no denying that. So that's a great fight. Obviously, it's a fight that's of interest to a lot of British fighters as well. They would look to be getting in the mix with the winner of those 2. Berlanga, wow, what
Berlanga
a puncher. Berlanga the banger, and he is just a natural puncher. You remember watching his last fight over in the States, and so naturally heavy-handed. It's raw power with him, and I think going through Nicholson, I'll be honest, I've not seen much of him, but going through the names he's been in with, and if he manages to get him out of there as early as what he's getting everyone else out in the first round, it's some statement again, but he keeps making those statements. I think, like I say, it'd be nice to see him go a few rounds, but listen, everyone loves a first round victory, and Berlanga certainly does, so we'll see how that goes. Keeping
the international theme, Barcelona is going to host some action this weekend. A couple of Brits on the card as well. Gabe Prosper from Luton is going to take on Sandor Martin.
Big chance for it.
Obviously, Andoni Gago against Gavin McDonnell. And Gavin McDonnell, again, it's a chance for him to get in there and see what he can do and what's there. And he's stepped up a bit over the years, hasn't he? I mean, those 2 lads, him and Jamie, how they managed to boil themselves down with their big frames anyway.
Huge at the weight, and I think he'll be much suited at a slightly heavier weight. But you've got to remember with Gavin, European, he's going second time, he's going to become European champion. Some of the lads he's been in with, fought for a world title. He's had a great career, and then wins this European title, which I think he's got a great chance of doing. I fancy him to do it against Gago. Goes away, does that. You get that European title, gives you a great world ranking. He's a fight or 2 away from challenging again. I'm looking for. It's always good to see the McDonnell brothers out, whichever one of them it may be. Prosper's got, I think, a much more difficult ask. Obviously, he's not as seasoned as Gavin, but I think with Martin, he's fighting a fighter there. He's been with some really good lads, holds some good wins as well. Beat our own Joe Hughes, who's never an easy night work for anyone at any level.
He's some boy.
That's
Joe
some
Hughes.
Story, unbelievable story. I've knew Joe since he was an amateur, since he was a junior, and it's amazing what he achieved there. But to continue it into the professionals, unbelievable story. But
to do that, the condition he's had, that means he fights with one hand.
Literally
basically.
Fights with one arm.
And to achieve what
everything's off his lead hand, so it's unbelievable. That's some story. I don't believe gets the coverage that it deserves. But Prosper there, he's got his own ambitions, and his good record. He's improving. He's an underdog. But I think, he's a live one. He's a live one, but it is going to be a big ask.
Well, our producer Josh, he crossed over, not literally, but he did manage to make connection to Barcelona and have a chat with Gavin's and a certain Terri Harpers trainer, Stefy Bull.
You're over there in Barcelona ahead of Gavin McDonnell's fight this week for the European title. How have preparations been going, Steffi?
Really good. Gavin's in really good spirits. We've had a long time to prepare for this fight. We've known about it for a very long time. Due to the pandemic, we've had many change dates. But yeah, it's finally here, and we're all in great spirits. It's nice to be out of the country. Almost feels like we're on holiday. Not very different. But yeah, we're all excited and ready to go now.
No, definitely. And what type of fight are you expecting from Gago on this week?
Gago is just one-dimensional. He's what he is. He's rough, ragged, come forward, aggressive and relentless, which will suit us down to the ground. Everybody knows what Gavin is. He's a nice, tidy boxer, hands up, he does the basics very well. And this is what will win him the fight. And I believe he'll win quite comfortable. We'll stick to the game plan. He'll keep it long. Gago will keep coming all night, because that's the only way he can win, by getting on Gavin's chest. And Gavin's just going to be too good and be a level above and show that he's still world class.
And you mentioned you think Gavin will win easy. Do you think it'll be a fight that we can see go the distance, or do you think it'll be one that will finish early?
Do you know what? Obviously, Gavin's not a puncher. But since remember now, Gavin's gone up to featherweight. His previous championship fights have all been at super bantamweight, where Gavin's absolute massive at weight. He's massive at featherweight, never mind super bantamweight. So he is a stronger fighter. He's bigger. He's put natural size on, and he feels stronger. He feels stronger within himself as a person. And I think we could stop Gago, yeah. I definitely think we could stop Gago coming down the stretch second half of fight.
What are your plans for Gavin for the remainder of the year beyond this fight?
Well, you can't set any plans, can you? Because you need one fight at a time. You can't. There's that saying, it's no good running before you can walk. Gavin's not been in a championship fight for a few years. His last championship fight was a world title in America. So obviously a lot's happened since then. So this would propel him. Gago's ranked number 5 by the IBF. So obviously there's a big high ranking at the IBF title. So then you've got 2 Brits fighting next for the IBF title. So obviously you'll be targeting the winner of that for a world title fight. But, I won't rule out a defence of his European if it was the right fight. So it's a matter at this stage of Gavin's career and where we are. It's one fight at a time. So I've got no immediate plans for what we're going to do next. He's got to win this. And depending on how he wins this, if he wins it in what I'm confident and how we can and look clinical, then obviously it'll be something at world level that we'll be aiming for. So that's where we're at. And like you say, we've got a big job Friday night, and that's what we're fully focused on.
Definitely, and best of luck to Gavin on Friday. And then after that, it'll be on to Terri Harper on the 15th of May. That was announced yesterday by Matchroom. Before getting on to Terri, we had last week, we had Shannon Courtney victorious, Savannah Marshall victorious again. On the 1st of May, we've got a great fight between Natasha Jonas and Katie Tylor, and now Terri Harper on the 15th of May. Yeah. How good is women's boxing at the moment?
Well, women's boxing's booming, isn't it? It's like I try and explain to people, it's almost as if it's a new sport. It's a different dimension to males boxing because of the fact that there's only 2 minutes and there's 10 rounds. So you're getting a lot more action, a lot more crash, wham, bam, wallop kind of thing. It's almost the same kind of action you'd get from them prize fighter tournaments where it's everybody's at it and these women are going at it for 2 minute rounds and it's only going to get better. I mean, what you've got is you've got levels at the minute and the talent pool is lower in depth than it is in the men's. But when you do the right matches, you're making the right fights, and you've got Taylor and Pasum what put on them wars, and you've got Terri and Natasha who put on that excellent fight. And then you got Shannon, who did that fight with Ebony Bridges, and the well-matched contests. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to make sure that there's not a talent, there's not a depth in one fighter being way above the other fighter, because it'll just kill what we're doing. But women's boxing is definitely on the forefront of bringing something new. Even down to it brings in a different audience, because you're no longer so you wanted to go Anthony Joshua, you're going down to the pub with your friends to watch Anthony Joshua fight or whoever. But what you're getting from these women's is you're getting mums, dads, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, you're getting granddads, you're getting grandmas, you're getting a total different audience to the male boxing. It's becoming a family audience, and people don't realise this, and this is a fact. And women's boxing is bringing in big numbers, big audiences. And I've realised this because obviously I brung Terri through from day one.
And the Terri Harper Choi fight, that's the headliner of the card as well, which is a great achievement.
Yeah, I mean, Terri's been setting boundaries. I mean, you've got to think, she beat Eva Wallström at 23 years old after only 9 professional fights and only 17 junior contests. Eva Wallström was a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter, never been beat at super featherweight. She was world champion for 5 years. That is some achievement alone. She then went on to being after becoming the first female English world champion, she then went on to being the first all-female world title fight and headline fight camp. This time she's coming in to headline a Saturday fight night. Terri's consistently setting boundaries, breaking boundaries, and leading the way. And this is a girl who's so young and a novice. She's a novice. She had 17 fights and she's achieving so much. Can you imagine what she's going to be like in another 2 or 3 years when she's had 20 fights? It's going to be unbelievable because she's getting better and better, and her profile's getting bigger and bigger. And the big deal that she's signed with Venom is massive, mate. Levels above what else is we were having. I got many of opportunities for Terri to sign with Everlast. There were there were a lot, and then Venom coming with the interest and wanting to work with Terri, and the idea of making Terri the female Lomachenko of their brand, and to be exclusive to Venom, who's just took over the UFC. It's massive. So we aren't realising. You just think you see where this is all going with Terri, and Katie Tylor sat there at the top, and we are just aspiring to be up there with alongside Katie. And Terri's building very nice. She's, like I say, she's only 24. Things are happening so fast. Her profile's going through the roof, and you've hit the nail on the head. I don't think Terri even realises. Obviously, I'm in Spain, and I've not had the chat with her yet, but I don't think she'll realise how big it is to headline a Saturday fight night in a unification fight against another unbeaten world champion. It's massive, and I'll be more excited than she will be.
Definitely. And in terms of that, Terri holds 2 of the titles. Going to be adding a third to the collection on May 15th.
I'll stick my neck on line, and I think Terri Harper will stop Choi. I don't think she'll just win. I think she'll stop Choi. I think Terri's, since she's been working with Danny and a strength coach and a fitness, she has come on. I mean, a boxing, as everybody sees, you can't doubt that, but a strength and a self-confidence, knowing how strong she's becoming. She's the ultimate athlete, Terri. She's got the X factor, and I think she's going to be around at the top. She will win world titles at multiple weights. She could become undisputed at multiple weights. We're only starting the journey. I've banged the drum hard enough and long enough. It's like now the wheels are off because we're here now. It's just we're enjoying everything, and it's so young. I'm in no rush. So much happening, and it's exciting to be amongst it.
Well, Stefy Bull, they're talking about Terri Harper, and before that, talking about Gavin McDonnell. 2 challenges ahead for both those fighters. You always get it with Stefy, that partnership that he has, particularly with Terri, is so tight, isn't it?
It's a brilliant story, you know. Stefy backed her with her own money, got into boxing after timeout, and it's a great story. And you mentioned it then about her, you know, winning world titles, the fight with Tasha, you know, first all-female domestic world title fight. And now she's headlining on a Saturday night, and it's deserved. It's brilliant. You know, she's a great girl, and she's improving all the time. And she's young. That's what I said. She's young. She's inexperienced. She's going to be around for a long time, and it's great to see. Great, feel-good story that is.
Yeah, lots of talent on the fight card on that night as well. But as you say, in terms of women's boxing and where it is at the moment, it is sensational, isn't it? I mean, Natasha Jonas, your stablemate, is fighting Katie, of course, and obviously Steffi's talking about Terri and her unification fight top in the bill, and we've seen it a few times now, and we're going to see more and more of that. That's
a great fight against Choi. I watched her when we were over in Texas. I think she fought out in Miami on the Golovkin undercard, and she can fight, and Steffi's in very confident, like you say, a bit of a bold prediction that she does it, and she does it inside distance, but I do fancy Terri to win. I think home advantage, I know there's no crowd, but I think that could play a huge part in it. But we to believe there what Steffi's saying about her improving physically, she is, you can see she's a natural athlete, Terri, but no, I fancy her to get the job done. Great fight, and you know what? You've got to give a shout out there to Steffi, and it's Ray Doyle. That's Jim's absolutely flying at the minute, and a lot of opportunities coming. I know we'll probably get onto it on the May the 15th card. We've got 3 fighters, all in 3 title fights, and the 3 tough fights as well, so it's a big night for both of them. I know we've got Lee Appleyard's challenging the very talented Dalton Smith, who rate very highly. And then another fight where he's up against Gamal Yafai, he's defending against their own Jason Cunningham. And then obviously Terri Harpers fighting Choi, so great night for them.
And Josh Buatsi.
JB's back, Joshua Buatsi's back, which is good to see. We mentioned before about the light heavyweights in Britain, and he's certainly right near the top of that pile. So, it'd be good to see him back.
Well, one Briton who is a world champion is Terri Harper, and there are plenty at the moment, but Liam Williams couldn't quite do it when he went stateside against Demetrius Andrade. He put in a great show, and it was one of those fights when you watch it and every round's competitive.
Yes.
He was well beaten as well.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. It was
The scorecards probably didn't tell the story of the fight, even though Andrade won most of the rounds, but he was hurting there twice, Andrade. You know, he buzzed twice, and I know Liam was. For me, the difference in the fight, the lead right uppercut when he was southpaw Andrade, it was a thing of beauty. It was a lovely punch. But Liam, and what it was then when Liam buzzed Andrade, it was like, he got tied up. And I think, listen, the referee probably let Andrade get away with a little bit of holding. But I think Liam proved he can, compete at that level, because you've got to class Andrade as an elite fighter. It'll be much better for it. And talking about good things, you see a lot of bad things on social media, but talking about the good things, I don't know if you've seen the homecoming. He come home and as he was pulling up on his street, all the neighbours are out, and that was a brilliant thing to see, and deserved as well. Like I say, I believe Liam Williams will come back, and he's definitely got another world title shot in him for sure. I was just going to ask you that. What would you do next with him? Well, with me, I think, Liam's, he's been around a few years now, and I think, like the way he fights, he can be very aggressive. It's you don't want too many nights like Saturday night, but I think Sin lives well. Part of the Ingo gym, they'll always be in great shape. I think, you have a meaningful fight next. I think you only want meaningful fights now. I don't think it's a case of dropping back down to domestic level. I think he stays. I think he stays. So world, maybe fringe world level next time, gets back out and then sort of push it, makes a second charge at getting another world title shot. And where does Andrade sit with the other champions in middleweight division? I think you've got to put him right up there. Stylistically at times he might not be the prettiest to watch, but I think there is a reason why he is avoided. Listen, I'm not suggesting he beats some of those names, but I think he's an hard night work for anyone, and I think that's probably why he's not got those chances, because I think there's going to be champions. For instance, Golovkin's people, and look at him and think, although I'd favour Golovkin, he's aging, he's rangy, he's sharp, he hits harder than you think, and certainly Golovkin at this point in his career isn't going to look as good. If he was talking a few years ago, I'd fancy Golovkin a lot stronger, but it could be a real horrible, awkward night to Andrade now. So we'll see what happens, and we'll also see if he stays at the weight. Huge lads for the weight. I remember meeting him in person in December and thinking, how does he make that weight? I mean, he used to do the weight below. He used to do light middle, or super welter as it's now called. But I think we're going to see him step up a weight as well.
Well, speaking of a legend like Gennady Golovkin, that leads us straight into Jake Paul.
Yes,
So,
the problem child.
He was in action, a Triller event
He
against Askren in a fight that wasn't much of a fight, I think, it's fair to say. I mean,
Statement. What a statement.
So I know that you're a massive Jake Paul fan, Anthony.
Am I?
And you were all over Twitter talking about the problem child. I think a few people didn't quite get you. But it was a nice one too.
Yeah, it was a great finish. Ben Askren, there's no other way to put it, he just wasn't very good. He just wasn't very good. And when he got on the scales Friday, it didn't look like he trained very good, either for the fight. It didn't look in any kind of fighting shape. No. It was the dad bod, wasn't it? And some of the people, it's like, do you know what it was? He was never known for his stand-up or his striking as an MMA fighter. So there was a reason why he was picked. I think the build-up was a lot more impressive from him, and the Rocky IV video he produced was great. He was very disappointing. However, yes, it was a great shot from Jake Paul. And yeah, the Jake Paul show rolls on. 3 wins out of 3 fights, 3 early finishes, 3 big knockouts as well.
But he's not fought a boxer yet. That's the thing. Now I know we're still hearing wild things about God knows who and non-boxing fighters, if you like, or whatever. Again, with Crolla management in the camp, what do you do with him? What do you do with him? Or who? Or really, the other question would be, who would you really like to see fight?
Really like to see. There's a lot of people.
A boxer.
Yeah, but listen, I don't believe you're looking at Jake Paul. He's not the only boxer he's fighting. I know it sounds balmy. Is someone like Floyd Mayweather, because obviously he's got 0 chance of winning, but it creates mental numbers. So he thinks, I'll do it for the payday. He can't fight a proper boxer because there's an unbelievable chance that he gets beat.
Boxer. He thinks he does. There are elements of what he's done that you could say he's done that well. He's done that. But what about a Tommy Fury then? Or what about?
It won't happen. It won't happen because there's a great chance he gets beat. For fighting. Someone like Tommy Fury. And listen.
But if I don't want to go here with a YouTube boxer, if he got beat and came back, everyone would say fair enough.
Yeah, they would, but it wouldn't fit his. Right. So, like, say, for instance, he talks about being an elite fighter, but then says, how he'll then contradict himself, saying how inexperienced he is. He doesn't really get the game. He doesn't really get the sport, and I know he's got professionals in his corner, but they're also on the payroll. But listen, it's doing mental numbers. The shows are certainly something different.
Yeah. I've witnessed. I've commentated on fights alongside you. Your style is very like Snoop Dogg. Yeah,
me and Snoop talked before most Triller shows, and a few lines, and we're still in touch. We're still in touch from one year when he was in Park Life. So, we met there, and we've just exchanged notes ever since.
Excellent, that's great. Look forward to your next commentary. Now, there is another Triller event coming up. This does involve actual former fighters in terms of Evander Holyfield and Kevin McBride. Now, Kevin McBride, we spoke to a little while ago because he was talking about Mike Tyson when he came back. But again, where do you stand now? We're going to hear from Kevin, but where do you stand Triller events with the former fighters?
It's hard, to say because do I think it's potentially dangerous? Yes, I do, after being out of the ring so long. But you ask any fighting man or any former fighter, if they got offered a big amount of money to come out and have an exhibition, and if that's what it is, an exhibition, then there's not really too much in say for it, as long as it's labelled as an exhibition, which I believe the likes of your Jake Pauls, your YouTube fights should be really. I was worried weekend when we seen Steve Cunningham, a fighter who dropped Tyson Fury back in the day, fighting a much older former UFC fighter, Frank Mir, and I thought, that's got disaster written all over it. Thankfully, it wasn't. But I think we just got to be careful. Like I say, you've got to take it for what it is. I think the main thing, seeing Mike Tyson look as good as he was after all the years, all the troubles he's had against Roy Jones Jr. When he come back, was nice to see, but I mean, I just don't know how much longer it can go on for. But I think we're certainly not going to begrudge our mate Kevin McBride at being back out there. He's talking to, and he feels him getting himself fit and healthy. He's seen it as an exhibition. You can see it as why not?
Yeah, well, we did catch up with Kevin a little bit earlier, so let's hear what Kevin had to say about this, how it all came about. Kevin, last time we spoke to you, we were talking to you about Mike Tyson, which is the obvious thing to talk to you about. You were the last man to face him in a professional ring. You beat him. He came back and he fought Roy Jones Jr. Now we know you're coming back and you're going to fight Evander Holyfield. Talk us through how it all came about.
Yeah, so what happened was, we had a good conversation, kind of about fighting Tyson, about Tyson coming back and how he was going to do. And he looked very well against Roy Jones Jr. And, how it came about was, still you get that kind of feeling in your mind and your body. Jeez, I'd love to get back into the ring again, because Mike Tyson was a legend, and just to feel the power, it's like unreal, so what happened was that fight went through, and there was a bit of press about that, and some people seen it, some people didn't, but I seen it myself, and I said, Jesus, that man's fantastic shape, and so was Roy Jones Jr. He held good up against him, and the next thing I get a call from a promoter out here called Dropkick Murphys. His name's Ken Kitty, and he says, "Hey Kev, are you in shape?" I said, "Jesus, I'm in good shape for the shape I'm in." I did his trade work, and he says, "Hey, I want to come." He's only lives not too far away, 10 minutes away, and I'm going to bring a professional photographer and a camera over. You don't mind? So I just got out of work, so I jumped to the shower, threw on a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, and went out. And then next thing, he took a picture of me. And then he said, "Say a few words to Evander Holyfield." And I says, "Listen, Evander, I love a piece of you too, because you're a legend, and I guess you're a better legend than Tyson, because you beat Tyson twice. I'm not sure about that, but I'd love to have a crack at you." And so that was all right. I went on about the evening, had something to eat, and the next thing I'm getting a call from Ken Casey, and he's saying, "Kev, they want to fly you down tonight. This is Evander." And I says, "Jesus, I gotta go to work tomorrow, I'm a working man, so I gotta go to work tomorrow. I had this big tree to take down with my boss, Brendan Hardy, and I can't let him down, and so I says, just talk over the phone. Sure, it's easy to talk over the phone and get the fight, I'm interested, he's interested. And so lo and behold, so there we're talking, negotiating, and sure, Jesus, when they talk that kind of money, they got up to $500,000. And I said, Jesus, I'll never make that working and cutting down trees, for a long time. I could be working the rest of my life and I'd never make that kind of money. So so negotiating, and then lo and behold, he says, "Kevin, this is Ken Casey, Dropkick Murphys." He says, I'm going to pick you up on Thursday, and we're going to fly down to Florida to have a meeting." But I didn't know who it was with, but I thought it was with Evander Holyfield's people. And sure enough, Thursday morning came. The flight was delayed at 10 o'clock. He didn't pick me up. And I said, "This is April Fool's joke, I could have went to work, and but lo and behold, later on that day he came, and we flew down to Florida. And when we're down in Florida, the first thing he says, "Kevin, tomorrow you have to go for all your medicals." And I said, "No problem, because you have to make sure you're all right, Especially I got knocked out the last fight, by Big Giant. He's 6'9", but I wasn't in good shape, and the guy knocked me out. And that's what happens in boxing. If he catch you right, that's professional boxing. But anyway, long story short, sure enough, in the morning time, at 9 in the morning, I went into this office. Who's sitting there? It was Evander Holyfield and his crew, and we were talking away. And Evander was talking about Mike Tyson biting his piece of his ear off, and he got X amount of money, 30-something million, and, what do you call it? And he forgave Mike Tyson, he forgave him. I don't think I would forgive anybody if they bit the ear off, But he actually forgave them, and you know, never sued the commissioner or anything, but that's boxing. I probably would have forgiven him, you know, because after a fight, you love the guy no matter what. But anyway, from that point there, like, this is really happening. And then they took me off to the doctors. I was getting EKGs, blood work, and blood pressure, and then they brought me up to the outskirts of Miami for the MRI, you know, for my brain, you know. But I told the guy before he put me in that big machine, I says, there's nothing in there, don't be worrying about it. It was like it's clear, but long story short, I went in and I got everything's all good, you know. It's all clear, so I'm all set. And then now it's about getting the actual fight where it was going to be. It was supposed to be in the Hard Rock Cafe, but now it's in another place like the Dolphin Stadium or somewhere. But now the fight's on, and it's the next thing they flew me down to Atlanta, Georgia. I was at that fight with the weekend there with that YouTube sensation boxer, you know, Jake Paul. Like, he's making big money, and some other fights there, and Holyfield was there, and you know, the likes of, I met what do you call that, Snoop Doggy Dogg. I always say, I love to shake his hand, you know, and I end up shaking his hand, and I met you know, a few famous people there, but you know, the way they're doing it, like the music and the fighting, and you know what I mean, and it's on an app.
They're putting on a show. They're putting on a great show, Kevin.
Yeah, but I'm doing a lot of talking. Talk's cheap. It takes money to buy booze, but I'm 7 years sober. Like I said, I haven't taken a drink. And you know, the main reason I'm taking this fight, and there's two good reasons I'm taking this fight. Number one is he's a legend. You know, like Evander Holyfield, even to lace the gloves up and fight on at that stature is like unbelievable. Like, it's like crazy. Number two, which is the real big main reason, is I'm going to pay off the mortgage of the house and put some money away for the kids. You know what I mean? So at least I did something out of the box, you know, right? You know, and you know, and I'm just loving it, and you know, like so it won't be long, fine in 6 weeks, so I'll be getting in a lot, you know, putting together. I told us I'll have to take a few like the next 6 weeks off work, you know. I'll be back working Monday morning, but listen, not this Monday, but 6 weeks from now, you know, back, you know. There's only 10 rounds, is what, 8 by 2 minutes, and then you know, I'm feeling good. There's one thing about boxing, you know, it's like cycling a bike or riding a car. You never forget. You always know how to, you know, you get the lose, you know. But I'm sure when Evander Holyfield hits me on the chin, it'll make the bells ring again. But sure, at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm going to be 48 next month. And what a birthday present to fight Evander Holyfield. And Evander's 58, you know, and it's unreal, you know. These times is unreal. Anything can happen.
Kevin,
brilliant stuff.
You mentioned the age difference there. You know, you've got 10 years on him. You're looking very fit. You're a working man, and you're chopping down trees every day. You keep him fit in your natural everyday life. And you're just going to do the boxing. You're going to come in great shape. And one thing, you know, it doesn't matter how old he is, Evander's going to be in great shape as well, isn't he? So, you know, hopefully it will be a good example, if you like.
You know, like I was coming down the elevator with him in the hotel, and I just give him a wee dig in the stomach, you know, just give him a wee tip, and I goes, "Oh Jesus!" It's like a brick wall. It's like a brick wall. He hit me in the stomach, and I took off my top. You go, "Oh!" But that's, you know, like boxing. I think there's muscle in underneath that fat somewhere, you know. But I'll have to look for it, you know. I mightn't get it in time, but you know, I'm fit to. You know, like
Kevin, will you do? Have you talked about with your team whether you'll do much sparring leading into this, or will you? I don't know. Will you go back on time? You cut your sparring right down to what you used to do. Obviously, the rounds are shorter as well, aren't they? So I just think I was wondering that. I've always wondered that these, you know, the guys who come out of retirement, what do they do for sparring? Will you do a bit of sparring?
Oh yeah, the boss will start throwing logs at me, and I'll be ducking them. No, I do a bit of sparring, you know, and
of course.
So like even my son come up and hit me a dig in the belly the other day, and oh Jesus Christ! No, but you know, like for some reason when you go into a ring and you know yourself, you know, it doesn't matter where or anywhere in the world. You just change. You change your mindset. Like you actually change into it's hard to explain. You're a fighter, and you fight to the end. And like I said to the TV out here, like the internet or the whatever we call that trailer, like I'm coming to fight, you know, because I know Evander Holyfield isn't going to tip me around. Like he's coming to, you know, make that fight happen with Tyson probably, and you know, better his career, or, you know, make it a good way to end. You know, show the people like the young people you can come back at this age, you know. And I said to them that. I come to fight, you know, I prepare to fight and fight to the end. And, you know, I said after the fight, I said, put up a good performance and hopefully come victorious out of it. You know, hopefully Mike Tyson will come off the stool and finish the fight with me. It's hard to believe a few months ago, I was talking to you guys and we were talking about the Tyson fight, and it's amazing. So only for your show and many shows like this probably wouldn't have happened, because it's kept my name out there and showing that I'm still alive, you know. And nobody knows me like Kevin McBride, but then when you put up the name of Mike Tyson, and they said the last man to beat Mike Tyson was Kevin McBride, you know. And
Kevin, we look forward.
It's a dream coming true, and it's going to be a reality. When the bell rings, it's going to be a reality. And I mean, so, you know, it's just I'm playing along, you know, and again, the shape, like I already did, you know, I didn't do like too much, but this morning I did you know, a couple of sit-ups, like 400 or 500 sit-ups, and I did that gear runs and the what do you call it, shadow boxing, and, you know, feeling good, you know. And like, as I said, I picked things up and put things down, and thanks, I was doing a physical job, like 43, you see. I got some muscle there, you know, but you know, it's just, hey, my blood, for a boxing man, like, you know yourself, it's in your blood, it's in your vein, and, you know, I'm ready, let's go. I fight tonight, you know, and I wouldn't be in the best shape, but I'm going to be in better shape now. Help of God, you know. I'm looking forward to it, you know, and hopefully you guys will be watching it and cheer me on.
Sure.
Well, there we are, Kevin McBride, and you see the enthusiasm, and you see what it means to him, and you see financially what it means to him. It's just incredibly hard to begrudge that man, of course it is, having a go at this.
And it's just how he talks, how honest he is about, you know, tapping Evander Holyfield in the lift. And he's like, you can see he's like a fan still, and he speaks there just how he's a legend, and it'll just be an honour to be in the ring with him. And like I say, everyone will have their opinion, but me and you spoke, how can you begrudge him of that night?
Well, his boss has given him 6 weeks off as well. So
there it is as well.
He can train, he can get ready.
I thought it was brilliant the way he said, no, I've got to go to work tomorrow. I thought he's just a proper working man, but now I'm a big fan of Kevin McBride.
Yeah. Another one that might be coming back as well, we've seen a lot of, is Oscar De La Hoya. Again, does that one sit as comfortably?
He's talking, going back to the Snoop Dogg commentary with Oscar. Yeah, it was a little bit worrying. He announced the comeback. Or how he announced it. Listen, Oscar's allowed a night out. He's earned it, and I think that's just a comeback for me, where I just think, I don't know what's it for. Is it for anything other than ego? I don't know. I mean, I think it's great if you're getting yourself fit and healthy, and I'm just not sure what he's achieved in the ring, what he's achieved as a promoter. I don't know. Is it a case of not being able to let go? Because he's still in the spotlight doing what he's doing. I'm just not sure. And there's talk of him fighting a UFC fight. I think the name's Eddie Alvarez, who Conor McGregor beat a few years back. It just all seems very odd. But again, it will do massive numbers. Oscar De La Hoya being Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah.
Well, moving on a little bit back to kind of reality, I suppose. This week, there's been plenty of news items and news bits and pieces, but Barry Hearn stepping away from Matchroom, obviously a phenomenon really that he's developed and created. And again, Eddie's going to take the reins fully. I think he was already the main man for boxing, but Barry, again, you can't begrudge the job he's done and what he's done. It's incredible, really, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I know we're talking about boxing, but what he's done with other sports as well, I think. You know, we've both been to the darts, and what that's been turned into is something else. But and it's a deserved retirement, and he's left it in good hands.
You kind of can't really see him retiring, but
no.
We'll find out more about that, because Betfred's Mark Pearson caught up with him. I think he's in Sheffield this week, so Mark had a good chat with Barry.
Where and when might you be sitting and watching Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury?
Well, I would think, I can't see, looking at the demands of both fighters and the restrictions still on COVID around the world, I think it still has to be in the Middle East. I think that's where the money is. I'm not part of the negotiating team that are doing this, but I'm a pretty good, accurate guesser, and I would expect them to be announcing something quite soon, because I know both fighters want to box twice this year. That's important. So that means that first fight's got to be July, August, early September latest, if you're going to get in November, December for the second one. I mean, there's a lot on the line here. Two great big personalities, huge amounts of money. Not sure where the second one might be. You never know on that, because the world is changing, as we've seen here at the Betfred Snooker. We're going to be full up for the final. We're going to have back to the atmosphere that you and I used to enjoy a few years ago, where you take your breath away when the players walk in. You think, wow, this is a big event. So we're going to be back to there, and the world will be changing. So you can't say for certainty, I don't believe, at this stage, where Joshua Fury 2 will be, but I would think the first one, on taking everything into consideration, looks to me the Middle East.
Could Joshua Fury 2 be in his country?
It's going to be difficult behind closed doors, although of course you've always got Wales, with the Millennium Stadium, which still can take 75,000 people with a roof. Who knows? I mean, Vegas will be opening up by then. I mean, July 4th, I think they're looking to say, we're back to normal, hopefully. What we've learned over the last 12 months is we've been in and out of lockdown, haven't we? So you can't predict with any 100% certainty, because we don't know what's around the corner.
Well, Barry Hearn there, talking about the big boys. We've been talking about Fury, Joshua for how long? And I think Barry's just telling us how it is. Saudi?
Yeah, he's just I think he's just being honest, and he's just sort of saying what everyone thinks, where it's going to be. And I think there seems to be now a little bit of movement, which is good. I think I've been one myself who's like, it seems there's going to be an announcement for an announcement, but it seems now that things are getting put into place, and hopefully we are going to see the fight that the whole boxing world wants to see.
Still a very sharp operator, Barry, isn't he?
Still, I think he always will be. I think you mentioned then, I don't think a guy like Barry Hearn will ever retire fully.
No, we remember meeting him a few times at the boxing, obviously, which you would have seen him over the years, but a couple of interviews I did with him. One when I was very young, living in London, and he was the Leighton Orient boss at the time.
Yes.
They had a big cup draw, I think it was Arsenal. Went to interview him as chairman, and he had this amazing knack of just owning the whole thing, and bigging you up. So you were going back to your news desk. He'd found out your name. He's talking to you, pretending you're his best mate, and it was brilliant brilliant salesman tactic, if you like, just to get you on side. And you think, what a great bloke.
I wonder where Eddie got it from.
Well, this is the thing, Eddie is great at that as well, isn't he? But great story, obviously, with the Matchroom thing, and it's going
unbelievable.
On. But of course, another thing that's happening under the guise of Matchroom is May the 1st, which Natasha Jonas is on that card.
Yep.
Again, there's been talk about top of the bills, and should it be, because Derek Chisora, Joe Parker will be top of the bill, but Natasha Jonas challenging Katie Tylor for all the lightweight belts is something else, on a really stacked card as well, with Marcus Morrison challenging Chris Eubank Jr. And it was interesting. I had the privilege to obviously watch Natasha train, spend a day with her really, training, and also back home, her home in Liverpool. And I think what people don't realise is what Natasha's had to cope with as a single mum, preparing herself for the biggest fight of her life. So have a look at this.
Get her washed, dressed, fed, and I take her to school for 9. Sometimes she'll come with me to the second session. It used to be alternate running and swimming, but obviously all the pools are shut, so it's now bike sessions, it's Versaclimber sessions, it's a boxing session with a run on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's a strength session with like either a Versa or a bike or something in later on. She likes it, and she likes being in the gym environment, she loves being around Joe. And yeah, she thinks she's the number 2 sometimes. She'll say to him, "Come on, Joe, we'll go in the shop," and he'll be like, "Okay," and just take her to the shop. And she like says, "Oh," you say, "You can get one thing." She's like, "No, Joe, I'm getting 2." Well, yeah, but that's the side no one sees to Joe. But he's, you know, he obviously understands that I'm there to work, and any stresses that I've got, he tries to take them away and help me out. So he knows that sometimes the baby's calling me, which can be a bit distracting and stuff, and he'll take her off or give her a job to do. So I can just get on with my session. It has been tough. I mean, it sounds terrible, but I've actually learned loads about my own child. And you know, when the schools were closed and she was with me for 24 hours, I had to entertain her. I wasn't in a bubble with anybody, so she was coming to every single session. Then we were coming home and we were spending all this time together. And one of the things I struggled with at first, when I got back into the sport, was that I didn't feel like I had enough time. I wasn't, you know, you're running, like I say, to get up dressed, fed, to get to school, and then you go away, do your 2 sessions, and I'm rushing to pick her up at 5 o'clock or before 5 o'clock, and then you've got like 2.5 hours to have fun, feed her, dressed, undressed, and washed and bed. So I was struggling with that at first, because I was like, oh, I'm not getting enough time, but then when I spoke to other working mums, they were having the same problems, so I knew it just weren't just because I was a boxer or just because I was an athlete. That's the same stresses most mums have, and she always knew what mum did, but she didn't quite understand it. She thought that mum just went to the gym. Now she knows what happens in the gym, so she's experienced a lot. You know, she's seen a lot, and she, you know, there's a medal at above the fridge that as she said to me after the Harper camp, "Mummy, did you win?" And I didn't know what to say, and I was like, no babe, but I didn't lose. And then she was like, okay, and she was like, your eye, and she gave me a kiss on my eye, because it was obviously cut.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 championship rounds here at Matchroom headquarters, we go to the judges' scorecards. Ian John Lewis, 96-94, Terri Harper. John Latham, 96-95, Natasha Jonas. 1H. Mark Lyson scores this contest 95-95. We have a split draw.
Yeah, I think she gets it now. So she knows that mummy boxes and mummy has to go to the gym or work to do that. But now she knows where I go when I'm at work and what I do when I'm there. Just like any other working mum, I've gone back to work, but my job's a little bit different. I think we've broke down a lot of the barriers and a lot of the stereotypes, and you know, the issues that we see as a collective socially, but we are breaking them down slowly.
I said it to a few lads in the gym the day. Crolla made one of them. It's like Tasha. It might be that film, I forgot the name, Benjamin Button. She's getting younger instead of getting older. Joe, as each year passes on, I hope she'd realise I'm being kind here, but as though she may be getting older in calendar age, but her performances and what she's doing, she's still improving, as though you've got a red hot prospect. Boom, there you go, good. Okay, go. It's got to be interesting, and that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen the odds. I remember last time for Terri Harper, I think Sky gave Tasha 100-to-1 chance every round. That was just ridiculous, and I think they've hopefully learned by the lessons, but it's a great fight. I think we should celebrate what we've got. I think it's the biggest female fight in world boxing at the moment, and I keep hearing what people are saying. It should be top of the bill. I agree, but as long as they get top of the bill money.
Lord only knows. I tried to think what Joe had answered to that question, but yeah, I don't know. But should it be? Probably. Like, does it matter if we're not? To me and Katie, probably not. you know, the background that we come from. We've boxed in the Olympics, we've boxed, you know, in World Championships, we've boxed, but then we've also boxed in little tournaments that have had just the participants there. So I don't think it makes a difference to either. Maybe, you know, she is used to the bigger stages, and, you know, Ireland are very like supportive. I'm not saying that Scousers aren't, but you know, that she has the whole country behind her when she boxes, and she's very popular, being sports personality, Lord knows how many times. So she is a very popular person, and maybe that cheers it on. So maybe a slight advantage for myself, who it doesn't really bother me either way.
Katie's done good for Ireland as amateur. She's done good thing. I think the fight, again, which I would do anyway, I feel it is closer than what everyone was saying, but you're judged on actions, not words. So we'll have to see May the 1st.
For me, you know, there was always something bringing me back to boxing, because as good as my amateur career was, I felt like there was something I hadn't done and that I needed to do, and I think this just draws a line in the sand to that. So for me, it's more about that, and then you know, then I will see about what happens next, because I will just have peace and I'll have revenge and all that stuff. But for me, it's that intrinsic thing that no one else can see or touch. It just be me that feels that way.
Well, where we have it, Taylor Jonas, and just, you know, watching that video, and you see what Natasha goes through to train, to look after the little one who's very lively.
She is, little Mila. Wow, yes, she's a lively one. Honestly, that's 100% genuine as well. The video, that's nearly all the time, and during bear in mind, throw that into a lot of homeschooling during, you know, when we've had the lockdowns and stuff like that. It's inspiring to see that. And Joe mentioned the Benjamin Button reference. Genuinely, she is getting better. I've said it time and time again. I'm sure we're going to go into more detail next show, but you know, she's a big underdog, but I believe she's a live one, a very live one, and I believe she's in with a great chance of causing a huge upset, and she'd be very much deserving of it.
Well, it is that matchroom bubble next week. It's in Manchester, of course, isn't it? It's a huge card as well. Any other news from you? Any other business? I'm sure there's nothing been bothering you about any European Super Leagues or anything like that over the last few days. Nothing
wow! Thankfully, a bit of common sense prevailed. There's worrying times for a bit, but there was, obviously, for a time you're thinking this surely can't happen, but then you're thinking the people involved, maybe it can. But yeah, thankfully common sense was seen. But on the boxing front, no, just what we spoke about really. I think as the weeks go by now, more and more shows, the restrictions, live audiences back soon. We'll be getting more shows. My fighters will be getting more. Great, like I said last week, the amateurs back, amateur clubs all over the country. It's great to see them back booming.
All is good. Well, of course, there's plenty of action this weekend, and as ever, next week we'll bring you everything from all the action this weekend, previewing that massive night ahead, May the 1st, and more, because there's plenty coming up right here on the Betfred Boxing Show.